Born on this. All right, everybody. Thank you for coming to this wonderful talk about Home Exchange. Um, Home Exchange, as you know, is a website that lets you do home exchanges, right? It's the title, the company name says it all. You have a home and you want to go, let's say, to Paris. Manuel wants to come to New York and we exchange. And I stay at his place and he stays at my place. They've been around for a very, very long time. Made famous in the movie The Holiday. And so I mean that's like 20, at least 20 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it was 2006, so close
yeah,
to
just
20
about
years.
20 years ago. So, um, really, really great company, offers something new and different, allows you to lower your accommodation costs, be in a local neighborhood, have all the perks of a home, maybe without all the list of chores that an Airbnb might give you. And really sort of like it's a great cultural exchange because you're meeting people and staying at their place and might be in the movie they became friends and maybe you'll become friends too. So Emmanuel is the CEO and founder of the site, so he's gonna sort of talk about why he started it, his journey, give you the lowdown on everything, and then I'm going to ask him a bunch of really difficult questions to throw him off his game, and then we'll open it up to you guys. So with that, I'm going to mute myself and turn it over to him. He's going to turn on his screen for a presentation. So just make sure that um, you can see it. And if you can't see it, let us know so we can sort of toggle the views. And with that, take it away, Emmanuel.
Thanks for the intro, Matt, and you've really made me nervous about this whole idea of throwing me off my game with your questions. So I hope I can keep it together during the presentation. I'm really happy to be with all of you. It's great to see that there's people from Chicago, Abu Dhabi, New York, and all over the world. What are we going to cover today? Well, first I'll say a few words about myself. There's a quick bio there. Maybe what's the most important is that I'm French, born and raised in Paris, but I've also spent a lot of time in the U.S., especially around Boston. And actually, one of my sons is American, future president, as they say. The U.S. is a country very close to my heart. And what we're going to cover today is about the basics of how home exchange works, the three types of exchanges that we have, all about guest points, the way to do non-reciprocal exchanges, how to accept or deny exchange requests, our guarantees, in a comparison with the rental platforms. And then we'll jump in the Q&A. If you have any problems with the sound or the screen, let me know. And the website is homeexchange.com. So next slide. So we are the most immersive and affordable way to travel across North America and beyond. We're the largest global home swapping community since 1992, with over 220,000 active members. So active, we mean people who are actively paying their subscription in 155 countries, including more than 27,000 members in the US. And last year, we had roughly 460,000 exchanges. In 2024, we expect to have over 650,000 in 2025. So we're very much at that industrial scale. We've have people traveling all over the world all the time with our service. How much does it cost is a question you might want to ask. It costs $220 for your annual membership. And with that membership, there's no other cost. There's no money exchange between members. When you're staying at somebody else's place, you will not have to pay anything to that member, except in some cases, some fees for the cleaning if there's a cleaning person and you don't want to clean on your own. But you're not paying, you're not renting. And that annual membership gives you access to all listings plus our member guarantees and resources, which we'll cover later. And the cool thing is that you can sign up for free, set your home up for free, start sending messages for free, and you only need to pay once you're finalizing your first exchange. So you can really get to know the website and the community before you have to pay for anything. So there's really no risk and no downside in just giving it a try. How does it work? Well, first of all, if you've seen the movie The Holiday, you probably know how we work. In the movie The Holiday, it's Cameron Diaz who lives in Los Angeles, exchanging homes with Kate Winslet, who lives in Boston, in London, sorry. Both of them find love, which we don't guarantee on our website, but they become great friends, and it's a life-changing journey for them. For us, in any case, what we'll guarantee is that you'll have a good vacation and stay in an amazing place. There are three types of exchanges. So the classic exchange is the one in the movie The Holiday. I go to your place, you come to mine. It's reciprocal. Um, the second one is the exchange with guest points. So in that case, I want to come to your place, but you're not really interested in coming to my place, but your home is available at my dates. So you'll say, sure, Emmanuel, you can come to my home. I'll give you some guest points, and then you can use those guest points to go anywhere you want for any other members of the community. So basically, it's still you're going to be hosted by members of the website and you're going to be hosting members of the websites, but they're not the same members, the one hosting you and the one you've hosted. And finally, we have about 5% of our exchanges, which are hospitality exchanges. And that's really popular with empty nesters out there. If you have a big home, the kids are gone, and you're going to welcome people in the home while you're there. And some people really like that because, like that, they can make friends with their hosts, and they also have sort of a free tourist guides who can show them around. So it's not for everybody. So, for instance, I have a big family. I have 4 kids. Doing a hospitality exchange, I would always be embarrassed and scared that my kids are too noisy. But I think for a lot of people, hospitality exchanges can work also. Um, how do you get your guest points? So the way it works is we really made it very easy for you to try doing home exchange for the first time. Because we think it's an experience where there's sort of an aha moment. Like, when a friend tells you about home exchange, or maybe when you hear me talking about it, or when you watch the movie, you think it's a little bit weird or you're unsure if you want to do it. And then once you've done it once, you find it so easy and so commonsensical that you sort of wonder why you haven't done it before. And so that's why we really help by setting you up with enough guest points very easily so you can go and stay at somebody else's home before you need to host anybody. So what you do is you're going to complete your profile and listing, and you'll receive a combined 750 guest points for completing your listing. And then you can sign up for your yearly membership, and you'll receive an additional 500 guest points. And with those guest points, you can go and stay for roughly a week in most homes on our platform. And of course, on an ongoing basis, the way it's going to work is the more you host, the more you get guest points, and the more you stay at other people's home, the more you spend your guest points. So there's really those welcome guest points, which we sort of give you as a welcome bonus to help you get started. And then on an ongoing basis, what you need to do is you host and you are hosted. How is your home valued in guest points? That's a question we get a lot because we don't send anybody to look at your home in detail to decide the value in guest points of your home. What we have is an algorithm that uses three information about your home. The first one is the number of beds. The larger your home, the more people can sleep in your home, the more guest points your home will be worth. The second is the location of your home. If it's in a very desirable location like downtown New York, downtown Paris, like very touristy place, you'll get more guest points than if it is in a more remote area. And the third is the amenities. If you have a pool, a hot tub, and a private backyard, well, your home will be worth more in terms of guest points than if you don't have these amenities. And then you can sort of toggle yourself the number of guest points. We give you some freedom in arranging a little bit and changing a little bit the value of guest points in your home, as you can see in the picture there of 112 guest points recommended by our algorithm, and then you can increase it a little bit. Um, a lot of people sort of wonder, would anyone want to come to my home? Like, they see those homes which they view as very desirable, in very touristic locations, and maybe you might feel that your home is not that great or that it's not that well located. And the answer is yes, there's a lot of people who want to come to your home. We have a lot of use cases around home exchanges. So, for instance, my sister used to live in the suburbs of Paris, but pretty far in the suburbs, like not right next to Paris. Like you couldn't go with the subway into Paris. and she was nervous that nobody would want to come to her home. And the first proposal she got was a great exchange to Copenhagen in Denmark, and it was very simple. It was people who were coming from that very same city and who were now living in Copenhagen. They wanted to come back for the summer and to visit the in-laws, and the best way to visit the in-laws is to not stay at the in-laws' home, or else sometimes chaos can ensue. And so home exchanging was a way for them to travel to this city, which was not touristic, but which was really important to them, while not staying with their in-laws. And we have a lot of different people who have a lot of different reasons to travel to this or in that place. So the best way to figure out if your home is a good fit for a community is to start becoming a member. Again, it's free. You put up your home, you're going to see if you're getting requests or not, and you're going to see the kind of people who are interested in your home. If you're fortunate enough to have an exceptional home, and we're talking about multi-million dollar homes, which are really nice, then you can apply to our home exchange collection. We have over 220,000 homes on our home exchange regular website, home exchange collection. Today we have roughly 2,200 homes. So it's about 1% of the homes that make the cut. On home exchange collection, you will find people with the same kind of exceptional homes and you'll be able to exchange with them. There's a higher price point since it's $1,000 per year, and there's more services and guarantees associated to the home exchange collection. Um, Offer, and your home needs to be approved. On Home Exchange Regular, you can put any kind of home, and you will just see whether you're getting demand for it or not. On Home Exchange Collection, your home needs to be vetted first. Can I choose who I welcome to my home? Of course you can. You don't have to accept any exchange proposal. It's really up to you. People are going to reach out to you. It's going to be a member like me, for instance, saying, "Hey, I saw that you live in Abu Dhabi, in Chicago, in Montreal, or in Boston. I'd love to come for a week. Here are my dates. Would you be interested to come to Paris?" And there you can say, "Well, yeah, I'd love to come to Paris," in which case we'll do a reciprocal exchange. Or you could be like, "Hey, you're right, my dates are available, but I'm not interested in coming to Paris," in which case we'll do a guest point exchange, and that's about 70% of our exchanges because they're the most convenient to organize. Or you can just say, "Hey, sorry, I got other plans and I won't come to your home." It's easy as that. Of course, we recommend that you stay polite. We're a community of people. We're like-minded travelers, and we're respectful of each other. How do you vet guests? We have a lot of information about our guests on the website. So we have a verification system, and you can choose to be contacted only by verified guests. So in terms of verification, we verify their ID, phone number, email, and proof of residence of their home. And you can also, as on many other websites, check their profile and reviews. You'll very often find people who've done more than 10 exchanges with, 5-star reviews, and you'll know more about their homes or about their personality. Um, what guarantees does the annual membership include? So here there's a focus on the guarantees for regular. So as a guest, there's a cancellation guarantee. So if for some reason the host cancels, then we're going to find you a suitable alternative exchanges, which we're able to do in about 90% of the cases. And if we're not able to find another exchange, then we'll cover up your accommodation costs up to $120 per night. And there's also non-conformity. So that typically is going to be things like you are going to a home with a pool, and when you arrive, there's those green algae in the pool, and you can't use it. Or you're coming to do remote work, and there's no Wi-Fi, or the Wi-Fi is not fast enough for your needs. Then we'll relocate you with the same kind of guarantees as for the cancellation. And then as a host, which is often the most important question when you're trying out home exchange for the first time, you want to make sure that you're protected. So first of all, there's a $500 deposit system at the expense of your guest. And then we have a damage coverage up to $1 million USD. And I think for collection, it's up to $3 million. I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's $3 million. And of course, we've got you covered in case of theft. There's a little note there about car exchanges. So we do not guarantee the cars in cases of home exchanges, but you should know it's pretty common to have car exchanges. So imagine you arrive in a place, you don't have to pay for the accommodation, and there's a great car waiting for you. And in my case, once I did an exchange, not only was there the home and was there the car, but the car had the right car seats for my kids because we were two family with kids the same age. And so when I arrived in the place, it was just like it was so easy for me to do the exchange because I arrived, there was the right kind of toys, right kind of a home, right kind of protection around the pool for my kids, and the car had the right car seats. It was just amazing. But so if you're going to exchange your cars, you should also check with your insurance provider. So how do we compare to rental platforms? So we are not a rental platform in any way. We're different in terms of values, and we're different in terms of price. So in terms of price, we're just gonna, if you join, you're just gonna pay $220 or $1,000 if you're going on collection per year, and then you can do as many exchanges as you want with other members of the community. There's no money changing hand between members. We have about 5 to 10% of our exchangers who are doing more than 100 nights of exchanges per year. These are typically retired people or people who can work remotely. And for them, home exchanging has really become like a lifestyle. And if they're doing 100 nights of exchanges per year, they're still paying only those $220 per year. So that's about $2 a night, which is a deal hard to beat. And we're a community. We're not a marketplace. What you're buying, what you're paying for, is not a transaction. Is for the right to become a member of our community. And that's really what you're buying. And so we're not going to be we're not going to have the same kind of feel during the transaction. So when you are going to a home, you are going to behave as a guest, as you were probably taught by your parents how to be a good guest. You're going to come with a gift. You'll leave a little thank you note. Your host will very often leave a little something in the fridge or a bottle of wine or something with their own little welcome note, and they'll try to make each other's life easier. So, for instance, it's very common when you're doing a home exchange that you're going to water the plants for the person at whose home you're staying. In some cases, you can even babysit their cats. I know that happened to me. I was living in Boston at the time, and I went to Montreal. I had three kids and we had no pets. Today we have a dog, but we didn't have any pets at the time. And we arrived in this home, and we knew, of course, but it was a surprise for our kids that there were two cats, and our kids were just ecstatic. I don't think they remember a single thing of what we saw in Montreal, but they remember the cats because it was great for them to have pets. And I don't think cats, those cats were used to being so cuddled as they were by my little guys. And of course, there's a lot less regulations and more tax advantages. As you know, municipalities around the world are making it more and more difficult to rent out your place on rental platforms, and there's good reasons for that. It's because there's a competition to some extent between locals and tourists when you're doing rentals. Like those units are taken off the local real estate market and they're becoming only for tourists. Well, Home Exchange has really a different approach because it's the locals who live, and whenever the locals aren't there, then the tourists can come in the same units. And so we don't have at all the same kind of regulations. So if you think of New York, for instance, it's still legal to do home exchanging in New York even for a couple of days, and there's no taxes around the guest points or our system of working. So it's a lot simpler from a legal and fiscal perspective. Um, Another difference between home exchange and rental platforms is 72% of our homes are primary residences. We're not talking about, an IKEA furnished standard, one bedroom downtown Paris, New York, Venice, or Tokyo that all look the same. We're talking about real homes inhabited by real people with their own personalities. We don't have any instant booking. You got to reach out to the person, and there's going to be a little bit of interaction. It can be very quick, but there's always that idea of interacting. I often confirm pretty quickly with people because I'm a very trusting guy, but I always organize a phone call to make the double sure that I'm comfortable with the person I'm exchanging with. And the fact also that all of our members are on both sides of the transactions. They're both hosts and guests, makes it real easy to trust people. And we have a lot of hidden gems leading to memorable adventures. That's definitely true. If you look at that little home in Tarbaca, Costa Rica, those little logos mean that it's got 5 stars, and they've done 36 exchanges, and they can host up to 14 people. So it's a kind of home you want to maybe check out when you once you've joined. Why you should try. First is because you're going to save a lot of money. The an average annual savings of $1,500 for an average of 6 nights. And more savings mean more discoveries, more delicious meals, more unforgettable moments. Some of our members use us as a way to go on vacation when, maybe they're on a tight budget, and they would have stayed home and done a staycation instead. And some of our members who have a little bit more cash at hand use us to reinvest their savings in things that they value, whether it's traveling further, traveling longer, treating themselves to some delicious restaurants, or making it more unforgettable for them and their loved ones. But there's a lot of other aspects beyond the money. You got the comfort of a real home. You got a full home for you, and there's everything you need. It's not like a rental unit. It's an incredible way to open up to the world because you're going to have to interact with people from around the world. If you're traveling to Argentina, well, there's somebody from Argentina who will be hosting you, and you can interact with. You'll discover new places, and you'll share your own region. That's another thing. One of the joys of home exchanging is the joy of hosting. Often people join because they want to go someplace nice and make some great savings, and then they realize that there's a lot of joy in hosting, making new friends, having gifts come from all over the world, and there's sort of this a great moment where you get, a new message, and it's like somebody from the space you'd never thought of going, who are like, "Hey, I loved your home. Can I come?" It's somebody from the Philippines, or somebody from South America, or Canada, or Europe, or Africa, and they're reaching out to you, and you're like, "Huh, I could go there if I wanted." And you can sort of browse their listing and think about whether you want to go there. And it's really convenient also to have someone take care of your home while you're away. I mentioned the plants, I mentioned the pets. In my case, I also had a freak event once. Is I had one of my heaters that turn on in the middle of August to maximum, and the old thing, the old toggle was broken, and it's my home exchange a guest who noticed it, and who turned off the switch and made sure that I didn't have to pay for my heating in August, which just didn't make sense. Um, why you should try? I have the feeling we've already had that title, but reason you'll love Home Exchange. Okay, I think we've already done that. Sorry. So thanks a lot for attending. I hope you have a lot of questions. And Matt, I know you've announced some scary questions to take me off my game. And please do use a Matt's referral code when you join. So Nomadic Matt, all written together the way it is on the screenshot. So that, like that, you'll get a bonus 250 guest points, which is worth more or less 1 or 2 nights on Home Exchange. So you'll get started with a head start. And looking forward to your questions.
Amazing. Well, a little virtual round of applause, everyone, for Emmanuel. Lots, very informative about how the platform works and everything. I mean, my questions aren't as scary as led them to believe. But just some questions for you to learn more about you and the service. First question. I think probably a lot of people want to know this is what inspired you to found this company?
Okay, so the founding story is somewhat complicated, so I hope you'll bear with me. So Home Exchange itself was started in 1992 when I was 12 years old. So I didn't start Home Exchange. I started a competitor called Guest to Guest in 2011 because I was a disgruntled member of Home Exchange. I tried to organize an exchange between Paris in France and Florence in Italy, and I contacted virtually everybody in Florence, Italy on Home Exchange. And a lot of people said, you know what? You look like a nice guy. Our home is available, but sorry, we're not interested in coming to Paris. And so they just said no. And at the time on Home Exchange, you just had a reciprocal exchange. I go to your place, you come to mine. And so I thought to myself, man, why don't they have a system of point of some sort? And that's when I started a competitor with that point system idea. And 6 years later, we acquired HomeExchange.com and rebranded the whole company HomeExchange.com. So that's the founding story behind HomeExchange.
So you just, I see. So you made basically the guest point system and it was a better model, so people used it more, and then you just bought the OG.
Exactly.
Yeah. Were you using home exchange when you were 12 years old?
Actually, my parents did a home exchange when I was 4 years old. Yes, they did. But I wasn't using it afterward. They just did one.
Do you have any like top memories of using the service? Like what was your first exchange like?
So yeah, I have a lot of top memories. One of my favorite memories of home exchange. I mean, I have like great stories about great homes. Like I went to Riyadh in Marrakesh for my wife's 35th birthday, and there was like a swimming pool, and the whole house was ours, and it was like a palace. But to be honest, the story I like the best is I came back from an exchange. It was a family from Spain. They had traveled, like the parents, the kids, and the grandma, to our home in Paris, and they had left like some homemade jam, a little thank you note, in a book about castles. And there was on the thank you note it said, "Dear Laura and Emmanuel, thank you so much for letting us stay in your home. Our kids told us it was the best vacation they ever had." And they wanted to thank your kids for letting them use their toys. And so we bought for you this book about castles for her, your kids. And I just felt like a great guy. I mean, there's like a feeling of like getting a bargain, like getting this amazing home that you haven't paid for, and you sort of feel like there's this a nice little greedy part of you that's like, oh yes, I've really hacked the system in some way. But there's a different feeling about like, like these people had a great time because I was a little bit generous, but it really didn't cost me that much. And we're also educating a next generation to sort of share more. And that feeling for me was priceless in a way that getting a great deal isn't in the same way.
You've mentioned families a lot. So this is like sort of a two-part question. And it's called home exchange, but one,
Mhm.
does it have to be a house or can it be an apartment? And
No,
and the second part is, going to families, are the majority of people on this site, are we exchanging families? Are they older travelers? Like, what are sort of the
okay.
demographics of like who uses it and who can I expect to request to stay at my place?
Okay. So no, you can exchange a house, an apartment. We also have a few boats, but the boats are not allowed to move. But like boats who are moored and who are at the dock, you can exchange a lot of different things. We have castles, we have huts, we have any kind of accommodation will work. The majority is apartments and houses, of course. And then in terms of persona, who is on our website, the largest demographic are people between 35 and 55 with their kids. And I think that's because, traveling with kids is really expensive. And so that's why we have a lot of families. But we have also a lot of empty nesters and couples without kids. And the fastest growing segment last year was solo travelers. We're seeing more and more solo travelers using our website. So, if you had to contact a home at random, chances are that it will be a family home with like a family living there. But there's all kinds of people, and you'll be able to find the right kind of homes for you that sort of match your lifestyle. Of course, if you're a solo traveler, you can go in the home of a family of with 5 kids, but chances are that you'll probably be having an easier match with a person who's also a solo traveler.
And then um, in terms of, seeing the rise of this, post-COVID, I think people are looking for more community and more sort of different ways to meet people. Have you seen a
Mhm.
growth in the service since then? A lot of sometimes it's sort of like a chicken and the egg problem, right? You want to go to a place, but there's like few hosts, so you don't end up
Yeah,
like
same.
doing it, and then it becomes this sort of like chicken and egg thing. But
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
we've seen tremendous growth since COVID. In 2020, we were below 100,000 members, and now we're 220,000. Probably finish this year at 250,000, and we're starting to look to set our eyes on the 1 million member milestone. And I think it's a number of things. There's been a high increase in prices for airplane tickets, which makes it more difficult to travel, and people very open to saving money on accommodation. There's the sense of community that people want to have that we respond to thanks to our community vibe. There was also this idea of, germs and the, the need of having a whole place to yourself as opposed to, being on a cruise ship. And that's something you can do with HomeExchange. And I think there's also a lot of environmental events which are showing that to some extent, consumption the way we're doing it is probably not going to be able to last forever. And so this idea of making sort of a smart use of our resources, rather than going on a pristine beach and building I don't know, 200 hotels and concrete everywhere, that we use more the buildings that we have is something that's also resonating with some of our members.
and then so in this growth, is it just big cities, or like are you seeing growth like in sort of smaller off the beaten path places, or should travelers really look like at this as like a tool for like larger cities? Like obviously, Paris probably has a lot of hosts because there's a lot of
Mm.
people there, but like, you're going to see people in like Lyon or middle, Orléans,
Smaller cities, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, there's really growth everywhere, and actually, that's one of the things that's made possible by the guest points. So imagine you live in a smaller city, not very touristic. Well, if you're reaching out to somebody in a you know you in somebody who's in a very touristic place, like New York or Paris, the likelihood of that person wanting to come to Orléans, which is like sort of a smaller city in France, is pretty low because not that many tourists from New York go to Orléans. But the person who has a house in an Orléans will be able to host people from all over France who know what there's to see in Orléans and who have good reasons to go to Orléans, and then we'll use those guest points to go to New York. And the same apply in each country. You're able, when you're in a smaller city, to attract people who are interested in your smaller city because they're more local, and then you can use those points to go anywhere you want in the world.
And then, what advice do you have for people to get to yes, right? Like when you're reaching out to hosts, right? I mean, you saw this a lot with couchsurfing and other
Mm.
services, right? You get a lot of requests and you're like, how do I know if someone's cool or safe or, uh, just like someone I want in my home? And then like from my guest side, it's like, how do I present myself in a way that shows that I'm just a normal human being?
Well, I think first, filling in your profile with some details about you, with a profile picture, with pictures of your home, getting verified are good ways for you to have like the basics of your profile. And then one of the things that works well is to personalize the message somewhat, like rather than copying and pasting the same message to like a lot of hosts. Is sending something like, "Oh, I really like your home for this and this reason, like your decoration, your whatever," makes it easier or to sell a bit sometimes to tell some information about you in the message. And then as a host, to be honest, if you're a host on the website, you're going to get some messages. And so it's more, I think maybe one mistake that people do is that they put their home online and then they don't start sending messages. They just wait for them to get messages as you would maybe on a rental platform. And I think the right attitude is really to put your home online and then start sending a few messages. And it's not because you've sent some messages to people that you'll necessarily go to their place, but it gets the ball rolling and it makes you understand how people interact and where you could go if you want to. It's also often the case in some couples that if you're two people, that one of them is more proactive and the other one has more questions about the concept. And so understanding how to answer those questions of that more the scared person. So let's just assume that it's the proactives who are on this call and their spouses are the ones who are less proactive, trying to figure out what's the right way to reassure your significant other is really important. Whether it's, hey, why don't we start by going for 2 nights in this place that's, that we can drive to like 100 miles from home. And like that, we're going to test it, and then we'll do another exchange that will be like, the 2 week thing in Europe. Or hey, why don't we just do an exchange with somebody who's verified or a friend of a friend? Because now we're large enough that it's pretty common in some countries, especially France, Spain, and parts of the US, to be able to find friends of friends who've done home exchange. So find what your significant spouse is a significant other, sorry, is afraid of, and try to answer their questions.
Just a couple more questions before we get to everyone's question.
Hmm.
Um, do I have to have a home? I know it's called home exchange, right? But let's say, you know, I don't want people in my place, right? So, but I would love to like,
Stay for free at other people's place.
right,
Yeah.
like Airbnb used to be. But since we have the guest point system, can I like sort of give people guest points, or do you have to have a home to be listed on the platform?
So you don't have to own a home. You can do home exchanges when you're renting, and that's really important. But yes, you must have, like, technically on the website, you cannot send a message if you don't have a home online. So you
Okay.
must have a home online. And the reason for that is because whenever you contact people, the assumption is that if they're interested in your home, you're also inviting them. It's like, hey, Matt, I'd love to come to your home to New York. Do you want to come to mine in Paris? It can't be like, hey, Matt, I want to book your home in New York on these dates, and I'll be coming to your place, and you're not welcome in mine. That's not the vibe on the website.
Will that shift in the with the rise of being a digital nomad? Or are you just saying
So
like people should just, in that case, use Airbnb?
what I think is digital nomads has been talked a lot about, and I don't think that many people are digital nomads all their life. I think what we're seeing is people who are digital nomads for maybe a couple months or maybe a year or two, but by and far the vast majority of people have their roots somewhere, have their home somewhere, like have their nest, and then can work remotely for a few weeks or for maybe a month or two, but they do have a home. Um, so those who really don't have a home, yeah, we're not a good fit for you. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, can't be everything to everyone, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So there's lots of questions here. So we are going to get through them. Um, all
Should I
right.
take them one by one, or are you going to read them?
I
How do you
will read
want to
them
do
to
this?
you. So
Okay, great.
don't stress. Okay, first one, I think is a technical question. Um, how does there's two from Paula. One, is there a way to synchronize your home exchange calendar with Airbnb so that bookings don't clash? And then part two is, what damage coverage do you have?
So on the synchronization of calendars, no, you can't do it automatically as of today. We're going to work on that, but today you can't. And we have a protection of up to $1 million in terms of protection of your home. That being said, I think the largest incident we've ever had, and we've had more than a million exchanges, was somewhere around $20,000. Like, we do not have on our platform the kind of freak events that you can read of about other rental platforms. We're more of a community with uh, people who are going to do honest mistakes, but you're not going to have crazy stories happening on our community.
And that's probably just in part because you have to have a home listed. So, I mean,
Yeah, you have to have your home listed, you have to be verified, and there's this idea of reciprocity where we're all vulnerable to each other in the sense that, the only reason I'm going to your home is because I'm willing to host you or I'm hosting another member of the community. So I think that changes the way I behave in your home.
so there's a few questions here about guest points. How do you get them? Like, can you buy them? Are guest points the same across the board? Like, if I stay in a a luxury home versus an apartment? Um, does like the amount of guest points I get change? Can you just sort of elaborate on the guest point systems in terms of earning that, getting them, earning them, and redeeming them?
Sure. So the guest points, there's really two main ways to get them. There's the welcome guest points, and then there's the normal guest points. The welcome guest points, the amount is the same for anybody who joins the website, whether you have a castle or a one bedroom apartment. And that's for you. It's when you put up your listing, you put your pictures, you get verified, you pay the first year of subscription, you're going to get an amount of guest points that's going to enable you to go and stay roughly for a week at an average home on HomeExchange. And if you use the nomadic mat code, you'll get another couple nights thanks to those 250 guest points. And then the normal way of getting guest points, like the ongoing way of getting guest points, is pretty simple. It's whenever, so if you have a home that's worth 100 guest points per night and you let people stay in it for 10 nights, then you're going to get 1,000 guest points. And then when you go stay in a home that's worth 200 guest points per night, you'll be staying for 5 nights over there. And that's how you'll earn and spend your guest points. Whether it's possible to buy some guest points, yes, it is possible to buy some guest points. We've made it possible to buy some guest points in case you're missing just a little bit of guest points. So you have like 1,000 guest points and you needed like 1,100 guest points to go to that exchange. Rather than preventing you from doing that exchange, we sell you those guest points, but it's really not part of our business model. And we've done the pricing so that if you need a little bit of guest points, it's really, really cheap. But if you want to use a lot of guest points, then it becomes really expensive. It would actually be more expensive than an Airbnb. And the reason for that is because, as I was telling you, Matt, earlier, we're not interested in people who are just gonna, use other people's home for free and not host. Like the main way you're supposed to get guest points is by hosting. That's how our community works.
You mentioned, a home being worth 100 points or 200 points. So how do
hmm
you determine the like, is it the value of the points? Like, is it like if my house is X rooms, you get this. Is that how this works?
Yeah, I covered it quickly in the presentation. And I'm trying to get back, but there's three variables. The first one is the number of beds in your home. The second one is your location, and the third is the amenities. So, the bigger your home, the better located it is, and the more amenities you have, the more guest points it's worth. One thing that's maybe worth noting is that we're not trying to emulate the renting market, where a house can be worth, I don't know, a unit can be worth like $50 a night or $5,000 a night. What we're trying to do is make it possible for a lot of people to exchange. So we've narrowed down the scale of points. So we're not trying to say one guest points is worth $1, and if you look at your price on Airbnb, you'll have the same in guest points. What we've tried to do is to make sure that people who have really nice home or very large homes or very well located homes feel that they're getting a little bit more out of the system that people who have not as nice homes, but that anybody can exchange. That it shouldn't, take me, 1,000 nights of exchange in my home to get one night of exchange in your home, because then the website wouldn't work the same way.
Great. Let me go back up. Wow, you guys have a lot of questions here. We just answered that one. Um, okay, here's a good question. Is there a rating system for cleanliness and hosts similar to Airbnb?
Yeah, we have a rating system where you can rate your host. As you can see on the screen right there, you have four homes. So there's three that have been rated 5 stars. I'm sorry, so it's small. One did 9 exchanges, the other one 27, the other one 8, and the fourth one hasn't done an exchange yet, so they haven't been rated. And you can rate. There's 3 dimensions on which you rate your host, and there's 3 dimensions on which you rate your guest. And in both cases, cleanliness is an important one.
Cool. Just a note, can you turn your screen off for a second because it's only showing your screen, so like I look like you can't see me asking questions.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, there's a few questions here. I'm going to try to group all the questions folks as best as I can. But a couple of questions about length of stays. Like, what's the average length of stay? Can you stay a really long time? Is this really meant for people who want to stay like a month at a place or a week? Or are we looking more for like you're just going on vacation for a week?
I see. I think the average stay on our websites is about 6 nights, and we have stays of one night. But to be honest, they're pretty rare because it's a little bit annoying to have to prepare your home just for one night and for the amount of guest points. So we have a lot of long weekends, like 2, 3, 4 nights weekends, weeks, and then we are pretty good until like a month or two. If you're doing like 6 months or like longer periods, we're not that great of a website because the likelihood that you'll find somebody who is making their home available for the same duration as you is really low. So, up to like a month or two, we're a good resource for you. If you're looking for something longer, we're probably not the right place.
And then another practical question somebody asked, what about key exchanges? Like, if I'm in your place and you're in mine, how am I getting the keys? Is it like a lockbox
Okay.
or something?
Yeah, every member has their own little system about the keys. We're not the ones organizing it, so of course there's lock boxes. There's sometimes, like neighbors or family that comes and is going to open the door for you, or maybe a cleaning person. We also have some, how do you call it? Like treasure hunts when they're going to tell you, okay, so when you look at the door on your left, you're going to see some flowers. If you take up the pink pot, you'll see that there's a key. That key opens the shed, and in the shed you'll find the home keys or that kind of thing. But people figure out like it's not a constraint to organize an exchange.
Hmm. Somebody here had a good question, and I think this relates to safety. Do are we expected to remove personal items like an Airbnb? And I think this sort of touches on like, I mean, you never really know this- people, right? So I
Yeah.
typically, these sites, HomeExchange, Couchsurfing, these sort of community-based reciprocity websites tend to have people that aren't going to like mess with your stuff. But like, what advice do you have when
hmm
it comes to like personal items and locking stuff up and just safety tips in general?
So I think it's very personal. Like a typical experience on home exchange is one that happened to one of my friends. It was their first home exchange. So they left some little post-it notes like private, private, do not touch. They locked like a wardrobe with some of their stuff, and there was like a whole room that was sort of off limits for the guests. And they did a reciprocal exchange. And they arrived in like a nicer homes than the one they had, or at least they felt the home was nicer. And everything was open. There was like a giant bowl full of like quarters to put like in the meters with the car keys and just one sign saying help yourself. And they felt like so embarrassed because they were thinking of their home where everything was like with red tape and like do not touch and all that. And they had this experience of somebody who was more experienced as a home exchanger and who was like, just help yourself. And I think there's like an attitude around home exchange that you grow into, and it's totally okay for me that you start by being a little bit scared that you're going to put away your valuables, that you're going to put away things that you're concerned about. Like, for some people, it's going to be their jewelry. For other, it can be their legal papers. For others, it can be their music instrument. I remember like a friend who was telling me like, what am I going to do with my violin? And whatever's valuable to you you should put in a place that you'll feel safe and that you can not think about it during your vacation. And then as you get more used to it, then you'll probably it won't be an issue anymore, I think.
Um, this is a good practical question. I live in a condo with a rule that does not allow me to rent out my place on Airbnb. I believe the exchange would be okay, but wondered if you've ever had any situation like this.
Yeah. There's an increasing number of condos, HOAs, who are forbidding Airbnb because of the back and forth and the security issues that can happen with rentals. In most cases, um, exchanges are not included because we're not well known enough and we don't have the same kind of impact. I mean, when you're talking about Airbnbs, typically you're going to have people coming every other day. Home exchanges, on average, people do 3 home exchanges per year on our website, so it doesn't happen that often. that people are coming and going in your HOA in your condo. Um, you should read the text, and if it doesn't say exchange, then it's okay. And if you're concerned, you can reach out to the people who have written the rules of the condo. But there's a small chance that they say, "Oh no, it's not okay," even though in the text they say it's okay. So it's really on a case by case basis that you should decide that.
Yeah, I would think that since money isn't changing hands, it's sort of like, I mean, if I let my friend stay at a place, like that's technically okay because I'm not
Exactly.
renting it out. So, or couch surfing. It's probably one of those things that you just better not asking about. But, I would just use it
Mhm.
as I'm having friends stay,
Yeah.
especially like you say, if you're not doing it frequently, and it's only for a week at a time, like normally in these places, they don't really know who your friends are and who your friends aren't, so.
Yeah.
And there was a question I missed. It's sort of like how it was a good one. How far in advance do you need to ask people? Obviously, sometimes it might be reliant on whether they're going away or not, but
Hmm.
it's a question like planning, like is this something you should do last minute or like, because we're syncing schedules, like it might
Yeah.
be challenging.
So we have regularly some exchanges done on a last minute basis. Like, I literally contact you today and I'll go to your place tomorrow. That happens, but it's not as convenient as you would with, on booking.com or on Airbnb where there's this instant booking because you have to interact with the person. So I'd say, at least a week in advance probably works best. And then it's interesting to see that country by country, what we call the booking window isn't the same. Typically in the US, people are going to book more in advance than they do in Europe. And then in Latin country, they'll book more in non-Latin country, they'll book more in advance. So if you're going to Germany or Nordics, they'll book earlier than if you're going in Italy. So, just contact people. And the good thing is you have their calendar and it says whether they're open to a reciprocal exchange or they're open to a guest point exchange. And when they're open to a guest point exchange, the likelihood that they're going to say yes is really high because what they're interested in is your guest points and they will let you stay in their home. So you can do those sort of more last minute.
Okay. Well, we are coming up on the hour. Thank you so much for sharing about the platform and how it works and how everyone can join. Everybody, we will share the recording for this. Tomorrow I'll send it out. I'll resend the code so you can get a couple of free nights, sign up links, the whole jam. Um, and along with some resources on the website about Home Exchange. Um, on my website, and then the link obviously to your website too. Yeah, and if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to the lovely folks at Home Exchange, and they'll be able to answer anything you have. So, thank you, Emmanuel. A little virtual round of applause. Um, Thanks for coming on and doing this. And I hope everyone learned something and is now inspired to use the service and, exchange. I mean, after all, like we travel to meet people and this is, and for community, and this is a great service that does that. So thank you all so much.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks everybody for attending. And I can't wait, Matt, for us to do another one in a year where you tell us about your first exchange.
It probably won't be, might be sooner than rather than later, but yeah.
Oh, I love that. Take
Okay.
care, everybody.
Ciao.